What's up, college football fans? Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Cover 2 College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Smithson, joined, as always, by my co-host, the Okie Longhorn himself, Dalt. As usual, first and foremost, how are we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm better tonight than I was a couple days ago. I didn't really get to watch a whole lot of football this weekend. It was kind of a slow weekend for me. Somebody talked about a big game happening. I don't even really know what's going on.
Yeah. Was there a game this weekend? I'm unaware.
I didn't watch it. I don't know.
It must not.
I watched every freaking down of it. I woke up Sunday just really hoping that I had a terrible dream, and when I woke up in my own bed, I knew that it wasn't Saturday and I wasn't getting off of work.
Yeah, it was quite a weekend, Dalt. Obviously, I found myself on the better end of it than you this time. You know, we've both been on the high end of that and the low end of it. The weekend of Red River is always, it's just so, after that game Saturday, I didn't even pay that much attention to college football the rest of the day because I was just so overstimulated from just you put so much of yourself as a fan into that game, and it was just nuts. But we have other games to talk about, Dalt. We're obviously going to do a quick recap of our week 6, our picks, and we have a new AP poll we're going to talk about tonight, and we will get into a week 7. Already halfway there, Dalt. It's gone by rather quickly. And not slowing down. So we will get into that week 7 preview. But with that, Dalt, we can get into our AP poll if you would like to get right into that.
Yes, sir. Remaining at number 1 is the Georgia Bulldogs, who increased their first place votes from 35 back to 50. Michigan at 2 with 11 first place votes. Ohio State moves up 1 to 3 with 1 first place vote. Florida State moves up to 4 with 1 first place vote. OU moves up to 5, 7 spots to 5. No first place votes. Number 6, Penn State. Number 7, Washington. Number 8, Oregon, dropping 6 spots to number 9, my Texas Longhorns. Dropping a spot, the undefeated 6-0 University of Southern California Trojans, after they squeak out a triple overtime win against Arizona late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, depending on where you're listening from. Number 11, still Alabama. Number 12, moving up 2 spots, North Carolina. Ole Miss moves up 3 spots to number 13, jumping 11 spots to number 14, your second favorite team, the Louisville Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Number 15 is still Oregon State. Utah moves up 2 spots to 16. Duke moves up 2 spots to 17. UCLA stays idle at 18. Washington State drops 6 spots to 19 after their loss to UCLA. Tennessee moves up 3 spots to 19. Notre Dame falls 11 spots to 21. LSU moves up 1 spot to 22. Kansas comes back into the top 25 at 23. Kentucky drops 4 spots to 24. And dropping 8 spots after what was just the most ridiculous way to lose a football game, the Miami Hurricanes drop from 17 to 25. Just on the outside, Missouri. Wyoming had a big win. They upset Fresno State Saturday night in Laramie. Air Force receiving votes. I do believe Air Force is still undefeated. Wisconsin, Tulane, West Virginia, Clemson, and just kind of Maryland and Iowa are just on the outside looking in.
Right. And so, Missouri, Fresno State, they drop. You just talked about Fresno State getting upset by Wyoming. Hey, that could potentially be good for you guys. Wyoming cracks into the top 25. Yeah, that's a good football team, though. But Dalt, real quick, looking at these rankings, you brought up Miami. And, we used to do our what do we call it? Good, bad, and ugly. And I'm
Yeah.
going to be honest, if we did that this week, they might be my bad and ugly, because that's some of the worst. I've seen a lot of people talking about how, I guess, Cristobal, like, somewhat to a degree, doesn't believe in the victory formation. Like, he's not big on that for whatever reason. And I'm just like, what? Like, anyway, but yeah, Miami's obviously, they dropped, and then so the big movers up obviously were Louisville after that massive win against Notre Dame, and then, like you mentioned, Oklahoma after the win against Texas. Your Longhorns, that they dropped to 9. I still think that's a top 10 team easily. Still think Texas is one of the best teams in the country, Dalt. I stand firm on that. Um, I think I'm gonna be honest with you, Dalt. I would have put Alabama above USC. I don't know that USC is one of the 10 best teams in America. Like, the offense is incredible. Caleb Williams is unbelievable. But
is it?
I mean,
is it incredible?
Well,
I mean,
right.
You
I mean, they didn't look
overtime
great
with
Saturday
Arizona.
night. Well,
they
that's
didn't
what
look
I'm
great
saying.
against
Like,
Arizona State.
I mean, you look at them against some of these other teams in the top 10, and, like, would they win those games? Maybe. But every one of these other teams in the top 10 is pretty close to what you would call a complete football team on both sides of the ball. Like, respectable, good on offense and defense. And then you have USC, who's it's just like an atrocity on defense, which we're gonna touch on them a little bit, because Arizona was your super dog that hit for you. And then we are picking a USC game. But, looking at the rest of these rankings, Dalt, Ole Miss kind of sitting there at 13, just kind of just hanging in, looking pretty decent in that SEC West. But, they do have that loss to Bama. UCLA jumped back
Bama
in.
to drop 2 games.
Yeah, probably not going to happen. UCLA jumps back in. Kansas jumps back in. That's also good for you. With that continues to be a top 25 win for you guys. And then, Kentucky, they stay in. I think that's probably right. I mean, they got hammered by Georgia, obviously. And I have to own the fact that my bold prediction was for them to walk in there and win that game. Boy, was I wrong. But they did early on. They kind of beat themselves too, to a degree. Like, obviously, I'm not going to say, had things been a little different, they might have won that game. But, they didn't play very well, on top of playing a really good team in Georgia. But, Dalt, the rankings are kind of, we don't touch on a lot of this. Like, it's just something to read off and talk about every week. I mean, do you have anything else that really stands out?
Well, no, nothing really stands out. That's almost exactly what I thought the top 10 would be in our group I sent. I thought OU would jump to 5 after that win. I didn't think they would punish Texas out of the top 10 for losing that game, kind of on a last-second deal. I didn't think they would drop USC, but USC did look pretty bad against what we think is a not very good Arizona team, who's kind of given
quarterback at
two
that.
two top 10 teams now. They gave Washington a fit the week before, and then they almost pulled the upset of USC. Gosh, what kind of perfect week? What kind of perfect Saturday would that have been for OU fans if Arizona pulled that out?
That would have been the pinnacle. It would have been the pinnacle. I mean, I'm just going to be honest now. A lot of OU fans would say they needed OSU to lose on Friday night. I personally could really care less. And I'm going to just get this off my chest, Dalt. I watch USC.
Oh, boy.
And let me just say, I am by no means claiming that Oklahoma is a national title contender. Nothing of that degree. So don't get me on that. But it is so refreshing to watch Oklahoma play football. And on both sides of the ball, I genuinely look forward to seeing guys make plays, because they are doing that. Whereas in years past, under Lincoln Riley, you expected nothing from the defense. Nothing.
No.
It was a miracle, Dalton, if we got off the field on third down and third and long even. a miracle. And then a turnover, that was like, what's going on? And again, I'm not saying
Yeah,
OU's great. That's not what I'm claiming. But 6 games in this year, I find myself enjoying. I enjoy it much more. It's just the offense. Obviously, it's not as good. Jeff Levy's not as good a coordinator as Lincoln Riley. Like Caleb Williams, Dylan Gabriel's not as good as Caleb Williams. I'm not saying that, but the offense is fine. It's good. It's really good. And then the defense, it's just light years different. Again, not calling them the '85 Bears, but it is just so nice to not see games like that game that USC played against Arizona. Like OU, it's just totally different. And there's plenty of games to be played. Maybe something crazy will happen and I'll look like an idiot. That's fine. But it's just I just had to get that off my chest because I just watch it and I almost just I watched most of that Arizona USC game and I just kind of it's just like I chuckled to myself. It's just like, man, like how refreshing. It's just refreshing. That's all I can say. Like
and I don't necessarily think that it's because Oklahoma's defense has just got talent all over it, but you don't get guys out of position and they tackle
exactly,
immensely
like
better
simple
than what
things.
they have in the past however many years. Little things. Like you don't have to be
Right.
supremely talented on defense to get it done. You just have to be good tacklers. I mean,
Right.
look at probably
Make
one of the
make
best
the easy
linebackers
plays.
to come out of the Big 12. Yeah, one of the best linebackers to come out of the Big 12 of recent was Malcolm Rodriguez, kid from Wagner, Oklahoma, that played quarterback at Wagner. And why was he raved? Why is he so damn good? He didn't miss a tackle. Like if
Mm-hmm.
he had you in a hole, you weren't getting away.
Yeah.
So
It's
I think that that's just a big relief for OU fans is the fact that y'all tackled extremely well, and leading up to the year, Texas tackled pretty pretty well ourselves, and we just kind of played out of characteristic on Saturday. So, I mean, we'll get into that later. I don't want to get ahead of that,
no.
but
Yeah.
I think that USC dropping is going to be a trend.
Oh yeah, and they got a tough. They got a tough 4 week stretch coming up. We're going to find out how good USC is pretty quick. But Dalt, we'll get right into our recap. And you know, doing a recap and preview in the same episode. We're not going to dive super deep into these games. But our first game we picked, I believe it was Alabama A&M. Correct? That was the first one we picked.
Yeah, because you
And
put me right on the spot with
right, right.
my I didn't know which
Um,
way to lean pick.
so Alabama goes on the road to College Station and they defeat Texas A&M 26-20. They do cover. Bama went in as a 2.5 point favorite. That was your only win of the weekend, correct?
Yeah, it went 1-5.
Yeah. So you were on them there. I obviously took the opposite there because I told you last week that I was just going to pick opposite of what you picked on that one. So I took A&M plus 2.5. Obviously, like I said, Bama covers. Uh, Watched a little bit of this game, Dalt, but the biggest thing I saw coming out of this game was a lot of A&M fans. There was quite a bit of discourse in the Twitter sphere uh, about Jimbo's decision making in this game. Did you see any of that stuff?
I seen where Casey Smith went on a little bit of a rant about it's time for the excuses to be done and whatnot. I didn't really. I watched kind of the end of this game. I didn't really watch the middle of it. I was a touch.
You were in a
I
bad
was a
you were in a
touch
bad place.
inebriated. I was a touch inebriated. I didn't want to look at a TV um, until we got back home and I got a little bit of food in my system. But I caught the end of this game and if you just look at the stats, I mean was a pretty pretty even game. Like the score is close. I mean it's a one score game. I mean, both teams had 16 first downs. Both teams were 4 for 12 on third down. Both teams were 0 for 1 on fourth down. You have, which I believe that Alabama's over 1 on fourth down was the last second play where they heaved it out of bounds.
Yeah.
Um, but 344 to 306 total yards. The turnovers, I mean, Alabama had 2 to Texas A&M's 1. I mean, this is a really close game. I
Don't let
know
me ask
that
you something. Not to cut you off. How many games would you say a team typically wins when they rush for 23 yards?
none, none
That's
at
what
all.
that's what Alabama had. They together combined, these two teams rushed for 90 yards combined. That is insane.
Well, we
And
talked about this. This Texas A&M front is unreal.
right, and I agree, but at what point do we kind of transition from, hey, these are two unbelievable defenses, to like, do either of these teams really have, well, what are they looking like at running back? Because I mean, come on, dude, 23 rushing yards, like. I, I mean, Texas A&M is not that
Tom
good defensively. Like, come on. Like,
Tommy Reese is a fraud.
and then Bama has 14 penalties for 99 yards and still finds a way to win this game. I mean, which I had listened to another podcast that, like I said, I didn't really. I watched quite a bit of this game, but I between being at work and like that 2:30 window is kind of hard for me because it's right about when I'm getting off work doing a lot of stuff. It's hard to really keep up with my phone because that's how I keep up with these games when I'm at work. But I I just saw that I think he went for it, or he chose to punt on Alabama's 45 on fourth down instead of going for it. And what's the punter do? Kicks it out of the end zone for a touchback. Like,
So you just give up 20 yards. That's it.
right. Like that if you're going to punt there, like, you got to pin them deep, which, I mean, Texas A&M, man, at what point do they move on from Fisher? Like, at what point, Dalton? I mean, do they just not
I
want
don't
to pay the
think they
buyout?
ever do.
I mean, I said it. I took A&M to cover in this game, but my least surprising outcome for this weekend was Alabama beating A&M. And again, I would say 90%, 95% of the college football community was absolutely not shocked that A&M lost this game, because that's just what they lose this game to Alabama every year. Every year it's, oh, this is finally our year. Bama's down. Oh, Texas beat Bama, so surely we can beat Bama. Like, it's all you hear about, and they go in there and they get beat. So, like,
Yeah. All of a sudden, Alabama goes from being Jalen Milroe's the worst quarterback Alabama's had in 15 years to, no, all of a sudden Alabama's a pretty good team.
right. And I know that if there was one thing that you took solace in on Saturday, it was the fact that you guys can hang that over A&M, that y'all beat Alabama. Not only did you beat Alabama, but you beat them at home, and they got beat by them at home. So that was definitely probably the highlight of your Saturday, most Texas fans. But yeah, you took Bama there. No surprise that they cover. I had A&M, so you start 1-0. I start 0-1. But we will move on to our second game of the weekend. This one, I would say, was pretty big surprise to both of us. UCLA at home defeats Washington State 25-17. The Bruins came in as a 3.5-point favorite, and we both thought that was just like insanity. And we both took Washington State. And I mean, UCLA just controlled this game pretty much start to finish. I mean,
I'll say this, and this is kind of crazy. UCLA might have one of the, if not the best defense in the Pac-12. I mean, you hold a
they're pretty
team
good.
like Washington State to 216 yards,
Right.
4
12 rushing
turnovers,
yards.
only 11 first downs. Yes, which, I mean, Washington State's not going to be a team that's going to really run it down your throat, but holding them to 12 rushing yards is incredible. I just, I didn't watch any of this game, but whenever the final score
No, me
popped up,
neither.
I was blown away. You know, Dante Moore, he has I don't even want to call it an okay game. He's 22 for 44 for 290, a touchdown and two picks. Biggest thing that stands out to me is Carson Steele goes 30 carries for 141 yards, and
That's pretty
the
good.
time of possession was 38 minutes to 21
Mm-hmm.
minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at it. I mean, UCLA just dominated this game, Dalt. 24-11 on first downs. Like you said, held them to 2 of 13 on third, 0 for 1 on fourth, only 12 rushing yards. I mean, on 19 attempts for point 0.6 a carry. Dominated time of possession. Um, it blows my mind, Dalton. I get the whole it's California and there's more things to do, but UCLA is a top 25 team, along with USC, playing in the Rose Bowl, one of the most historic venues in the sport, and 35,000 people out of a capacity of 88,000 in attendance for a top 20. Basically, looking back on it, I mean, Washington State, I think, might have fell out. Did they fall out of the rankings after this, or are they still ranked? And UCLA jumped back in. So it's basically a top 25 matchup, and like you have nobody there to watch it, and you win at home. Like it's just pitiful to me that whole situation. But yeah, I mean, I think this was just a huge surprise to us both that UCLA. I mean, I won't say that they won the game. I mean, we both were kind of getting high on Washington State and what they had done after beating Oregon State. And then they go in there and UCLA, like I said, they just dominated them, Dalt. I mean, there's really no other way to put it.
That I mean, there's really not much more to say on it. I mean, it was just it it was a bludgeoning for UCLA. I know the score doesn't really say that, but I mean, it was. I mean, they controlled everything.
Right. So we will move on. That was a loss for both of us. Our next game, Dalt, an SEC shootout up in Columbia, Missouri, as LSU goes on the road and I guess mounts a comeback because it looked early on like Missouri was going to run away with this game. It was what 22 to like 6, I think, or something like that early on,
Yep,
and or
22 to
22 to
7.
7, and LSU scores 22 points in the fourth quarter. They came in as 6-point favorites. Like I said, they win 49-39. You took Missouri at plus, what was it, 6.5, I believe, or 6. I think it was 6.5. Yeah, 6.5. So you took
Yep.
Missouri at plus 6.5. I took LSU. And I mean, I would say kind of the story of this game is, Jaden Daniels he, he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now. LSU just cannot play defense. I mean, it's bad. Like they are horrendous.
Yeah, this this hurt my soul even more because I had it. I had Missouri. They were down 3 trying to go score. I was like, even if they don't score, like whatever, I cover. Pick six with 34 seconds left,
Right.
just to put me away. Um, no, this like you said, this game started off. Missouri was just jumped right out of the gates and jumped on their head. Um, 527 total yards for Missouri. You would think that Missouri would have won this game. No, they
Yeah.
give up 533. So it's
Right.
274 yards rushing
Yeah.
for LSU. Both teams played sloppy penalties. Only big difference was Missouri threw 2 picks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you win the turnover battle or you lose the turnover battle and give up 250 on the ground and in the air. It's pretty difficult to win a football game, Dalt. I mean, like you give up a ton of yards, that's one thing, but when you're giving up pretty balanced 250 and 250, and I mean that 250 on the ground allows LSU to control time of possession by just about 5 minutes in this game, which makes a big difference. Also, um, you know, both teams played pretty sloppy too, 11 penalties each. And man, Missouri, wow, one thing I will give them, those uniforms they wore in this game were unbelievable. Those uniforms were awesome, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
but
agree.
but yeah, Jaden Daniels, he's he's pretty unbelievable, and I still stand by what I said in the preseason. He is maybe or probably the best quarterback in this conference. It's just LSU, man. Brian Kelly's got to figure it out on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you would have never thought a school like LSU could not get it done defensively. And I mean, they were a unit last year that they weren't bad. I mean, they weren't great, but it's like they've gotten worse. So I don't know what's going on there, to be honest with you. But that was a win for me, Dalt. I had LSU minus 6.5. That late pick six got it done for me. It was only one of two of my wins this week. Neither one of us had a very good week, but we will keep on moving on this recap, and we head to the Louisville Cardinals, Dalt, getting it done at home against Notre Dame. If you're looking for a couple of guys, listen, all of our listeners, just listen. If you're looking for a couple guys that know ball, all right, we know ball. LSU or Louisville, Duke. I mean, I had a guy that I worked with, Dalt. He messaged me this week, and I guess he bets on games quite a bit, and he was like, why didn't you, because he found out I had a podcast about college football. He's like, why didn't you tell me about Louisville? Because I guess he had lost money picking Notre Dame. And I was like, sorry, man, just listen to the pod. It's simple. Now, I will say I did pick Notre Dame to cover in this game, but that's neither here nor there. But Louisville, I mean, we can just call it what it is, Dalt. They kind of dominated Notre Dame in a way that I don't think most people thought they were going to in this game.
Yeah, Notre Dame got absolutely exposed. You turn Sam Hartman over 3 times, and your quarterback doesn't turn the football over, and you just give it to your running backs and just control time possession. What a great win! I mean, it really was kind of closer than the score shows, but in the fourth quarter, they rattled off 13 unanswered
Mm-hmm.
to jump out to a 33-13 lead and just put this game away. Louisville, I don't want to say that I think Louisville has a chance to win the ACC because I don't know, they avoid Florida State and Clemson.
And Clemson, yeah. I mean, the rest of their schedule, Dalt, it's not super tough. I mean, outside they got Duke.
2 weeks you're going to get one.
They've got Duke coming up, and then they finish with Miami. We'll see how good they are towards the end of the year, and then they do have Kentucky, who I do think is a good football team. So I think I picked
Kentucky
this team.
Game doesn't matter.
Did I pick? I think I picked Louisville to go 9-3. So realistically, they could lose all three of those games, and I mean, I'm spot on.
Well on their way. I think they could go 10-2.
Yeah.
Easily.
So, yeah, just a couple of guys that know ball, Dalt. Louisville, they win this game 33-20. Although sadly, we both picked Notre Dame to cover. This was a game in the preseason that I didn't think Louisville would win as high as I was on the Cardinals this year. But Notre Dame, man, what did we talk about, Dalton? The trenches up front, we didn't think Louisville would be able to hold up at the line of scrimmage. And Notre Dame rushes for 44 yards. I mean,
yeah, this is kind of a statement win, and you really wonder what is going on with Notre Dame. They look great for the first 3 weeks of the season, and then they can't get a push against a team like Louisville, who has been in just knockdown dragouts for the past 3 weeks for 3 out of the 4 weeks
with teams that aren't very good.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech 5-point win, Indiana 7-point win, NC State 3-point win. You just beat NC State at NC State by, I want to believe it was 10 points. Like, you can't tell me you're not more talented than what you showed.
I think was it worse than that? I think they beat them by like 21. I'm pretty sure it was like 45-24. I think.
This game, I really expected more from Notre Dame. Year 2 under Marcus Freeman, and you bring Sam Hartman in. I know their going to say they're kind of injury ridden at the wide receiver position, but you have got to be better than this. I understand Louisville's a good team, but going into this game, we both thought that Louisville was a very good team, but we thought Notre Dame was a great team.
Exactly.
But good for Louisville. I mean, we talked about this. I believe their coach uh is it did Bohm come back to Louisville or did he go to
Yeah, Jeff
Cincinnati?
Brom,
Brom, yeah,
however you say it.
because Satterfield left Louisville for Cincinnati,
Right.
right? And
Yes.
Louisville was kind of happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Dalt, like I said, we both took Notre Dame here at -6.5. Louisville, they do cover, so that was a loss for both of us, and just kind of a game that went in a way we just didn't really expect it to. But we'll keep moving on this recap. Georgia, they did what Georgia does, Dalt.
Oh, we
Put
got
put up.
bamboozled.
We might have gotten bamboozled. Yes. Put up what 31, I think, or something like that. 34 points in the first half. Win going away 51-13 against Louisville. They cover the 14.5. We both took Kentucky to cover 14.5. I also, in my boldest prediction, picked Kentucky to win this game. So thanks a lot, Kentucky, for making us both look like complete idiots, more so me than Dalton. But Georgia they kind of just kind of showed all that they can crank it up to 11 still, like that they have that ability. They're a really good football team, and I just don't think there's any arguing that they're still the favorite to win the national championship. I mean, after a game like this, you just really can't say anything else.
The biggest thing for me was I know Kentucky only had 5 penalties for 60 yards, but they were at the most unopportune time to happen. They were very undisciplined, and I don't know if Mark Stoops is aware of this or not, but you have to guard Brock Bowers. I
Usually helps.
I mean, I know it's hard, but leaving him wide open isn't the option. Um,
No.
7 catches for 132 yards and a touchdown, averaging just almost 2 first downs a catch. So I really feel like an idiot for taking Kentucky now because just leading up to this, we all kind of felt like, oh, Georgia can be
Well,
had. Here we go. Like this is the chance for Kentucky, and
right.
Kirby Smart just kind of drop kicks everybody, and then it just proceeds to uppercut Miley Cyrus in his post game conference.
I saw that. I did see that. That was pretty funny. But yeah, I said it last week. Is we're both going to pick Kentucky to cover in this game, and Georgia's going to go out and beat them. I think I said by like 21 or something, and we joked and laughed about it. And that's essentially what happened, Dalt. But yeah, there's really not much more to say. Brock Bowers, he's unbelievable. There's people talking about him having a chance to be in New York at the Heisman ceremony. I don't know how realistic
He
that
should be.
is.
He's the best
To
player
be
in the
honest,
country.
I mean, he probably is the best player in the country, but it's just not. It's a quarterback award. Like it just is what it is. But with that, Dalt, like I said, we both took Kentucky, so that was a loss, and we will move on to our final game we picked, and
No, we're done.
the Oklahoma.
We're good. We're good. Just moving on. What's this week's games?
The the Oklahoma Sooners go down to the Cotton Bowl and they hand your Texas Longhorns their first loss of the season. Final score was 34-30. Dalt. I mean, you want to talk about a football game that had just about everything a football game could possibly have. I mean, the highs, the lows for both teams. I did take Oklahoma +6, but I will go on the record of saying I was wrong. I did not think Oklahoma was going to win this game. I did say, I actually went back and listened to it just to hear what I said again today before we recorded. I said that there was a way Oklahoma could win this game. I didn't think it was impossible, but you took Texas -6. I took Oklahoma +6. Oklahoma does cover. They win outright. Um, there has been several bits of discourse, Dalt, on Twitter. I know you've heard it from your fellow so-called friends that are Oklahoma fans. I've tried to kind of take it easy on you because I love you, and I know how
Oh no,
serious you take this because
I,
I know how serious I take it. But give me your thoughts on the game,
I
Dalt.
will, I will say this. I will make good on our bet. Um, I'm going to wear the shirt you picked. I about asked you what size shirt you wore, and I was going to go to Walmart and buy an OU shirt in that size. I was going to wear it once instead of burning it. I was just going to gift it to you, and I'd probably sign it, whatever.
Well,
You could
I,
hang it up behind you. That way,
I wore it
yeah,
for
I
you
know.
tonight, Dalt. I wore it for you tonight.
I'm going to make good on it. Wash it next week when we do it in person. I will wear it. I'm going to make good on that. But hats off to Oklahoma. Um, they really did what they had to do to win this game. They had to make Texas kind of turn the football over and play out of character, and they did that. I mean, Quinn, I believe, started the game 5 for 9 or 4 for 9 with 2 picks.
Right.
And then he had the fumble on a drive that was on 1st and 10, trying to do too much. So I think that OU did exactly what they had to do. They played better. They wanted it more. They controlled the line of scrimmage, and that was not something that we thought that they were going to be very successful at. Um, Kind of something we talked about was Brent Venables. How was he going to play Quinn? Was he going to heat him up, or was he going to play coverage? And right before the game started, I had seen a thread where it said that Quinn. They talked about it on game day. Quinn is like 70% when you blitz him, and I said everybody's been talking about BV having to get after Quinn, this and that. And I tweeted this and I said, I would almost bet money that he plays coverage because when Quinn has to go to his third and fourth options, Quinn gets a little happy feet. The line can't hold up that long. And that's exactly what happened. BV called a great first quarter of defense. Once Quinn settled in, though, Quinn went back to
Yeah.
being the elite quarterback that he is. I mean, I believe he went on a stretch to break Colt McCoy's Red River record of 19 straight completions.
I think it
But the
ended
biggest
right
deal
at 19. Yeah. Yeah.
was that right at
Go ahead.
19.
I think so.
It
Yeah.
just it was just a great game planned by OU. I mean, Jeff Lebby called what might be his best game ever as Oklahoma's offensive coordinator. He
Mm-hmm.
went tempo. Dylan Gabriel played perfect. Well, I don't want to say perfect because I've caught a lot of flack for saying that OU played perfect. Dylan Gabriel played his best football game of his college football career on Saturday.
Yeah.
He wasn't perfect by no means, but he has not played to that level his entire
No.
career.
And I said that like Gabriel, what he did with his legs is what made it the best game of his career, and just the situation itself and what the game is. He only threw for 285, and he had the touchdown right at the end. And he just in this game he just made every play when Oklahoma needed him to make the play. Like there were some
Yep.
times that he missed on some throws, but when they needed a drive or a throw, like most of the game, he answered the bell. And I mean, as an Oklahoma fan, and this is no slight to Texas at all, it did get somewhat frustrating there, kind of in that third quarter. OU had several opportunities with the ball to actually separate from Texas in this game. When it was 27-17, they have,
To put it
the
away.
fumble, like, and then they get the big, huge stop on the goal line. Like there were opportunities for Oklahoma to pull away and separate in this game. And I told you, Dalton, Texas did not play their best. I don't think they played as bad as some of your fellow fans are making it out to be. I don't think Texas played
No.
bad. Like aside from the turnovers, like, and that is what it is. I don't feel like they played a bad game, but it's a testament to your team and how good Texas really probably is that with a lot of what went wrong for you guys, still at the end of this game, y'all were up 30-27. and OU had to drive the field and win the game at the end, the very end of the game. And like I said, this game had everything from the turnovers to a goal line stop on the a fourth down stop on the goal line, a field goal to go up at the end of the game, and then OU goes and scores a touchdown. You have a blocked punt for a touchdown, a massive running into the kicker penalty on fourth down. Like the first 6 minutes of this game, Dalton, it felt like a lifetime. I mean, it was insane. And then you look up and it's only like 10-7, so it wasn't like a bunch of points being scored. It was nuts.
Yeah, I have an over-under for you. First 6 minutes of this game, over-under 3.5 beers drank by me in the first 6 minutes of this game.
I'll go ahead and say over. I think I'll say over.
Over. I had 4 in the first 6 minutes. They were all sitting like.
I love it.
When I watch football, Texas football games, I look. I know my wife hates it because I will literally take my bucket of baseballs and I will set it in the middle of the living room and I will set it on a bucket of baseballs.
I love it.
And watch this.
I
game.
Absolutely love it.
Watch every game, and I look up at 6 minutes, and after the whole 6 minutes of punt block and 10-7, whatever, I look up at the deal and there are 4 empty beer cans, and I have the 5th one in my hand, and I'm like, it's not even halfway through the first quarter. I was like, this game is going to make me pull my hair out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say this, Doll. I got to get this off my chest. I am not going to eviscerate you because you have not been unbearable since last year. But I have seen your fellow Texas fans on Twitter getting everything that they deserve from Oklahoma, because we're talking about a game a year ago that we don't score a single point in, and we catch every bit of it from your fan base for an entire year. We have devoted Texas football fan accounts changing their names on Twitter and having the score in their usernames on Twitter. So you can somewhat miss me with this was Oklahoma's Super Bowl when we have that going on from a year ago. And again, I'm not trying to come at you because you have you've been as level-headed about it as anybody. But that is, if you can't handle Oklahoma being excited, and fans especially after, and just in general, what Oklahoma has gone through in the last year and a half, fans, because we have nothing to do with the program, obviously. We just root for the team.
Yeah.
So our head coach leaves us. We go 6-7. We lose a ton of games that we probably shouldn't, and we get literally eviscerated by our biggest rival and don't score a single point. And just don't come to me with this. You guys are taking this too far. Now, I will say, for me, I'm not going to get on there and do all that. One, because I know these teams are probably going to play again here in about 8 weeks. And I do firmly believe in karma. And I'm going to just pause. Not saying I'm scared of that potential rematch by any stretch of the imagination, but it is very difficult to beat a team twice. But I just had to get that off my chest, Dalt, because I have just been, it's honestly been comical to me to see some of the people on Twitter, and it's just all these excuses. You just got beat. Was Texas fully healthy? No. But
was OU fully healthy?
Was OU fully healthy?
I don't. No.
Gentry Williams goes down. We literally lost our receiver. I think in the third quarter, he's out for the season having surgery, and one of our offensive linemen goes down. Like, this was just take it for what it is. It was an all-timer, and one team, of course, had. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, Dalton. When y'all kicked that field goal, I was walking back to my truck on my mail route, and I sat down in my truck in the seat, and I literally thought to myself, I actually said it out loud. I thought, man, we pretty much led this entire game, had all kinds of opportunities to separate and put Texas away to a degree, and they're going to end up winning this thing right at the end. I mean, right at the end. And it was just like, they're a damn good football team. It just is what it is. Like I was just like, okay. And then of course the rest is history. What happens happens. But I,
Do you
we're
want
going to move
do
on.
you want to know what I said whenever we kicked that field goal? I sit down on my couch, looked my wife directly in the eyes, and said, "Too much time."
Yeah. I
I
mean,
literally looked at her and said, "Too much time." I had West Virginia flashbacks. I had Alabama flashbacks from last year. We have ruined 2 game-winning field goals by this kicker because our defense can't get a damn stop.
yeah. And I
But
mean,
no, it was a great game, and
go ahead.
it was a great game. And I tweeted this, and I said I effing love this rivalry. Even after, like, when we tied it, we took the lead. Even after OU scored, I'll stand on this. I love this rivalry, and kind of just what you're talking about, these Texas fans and OU fans going at it. I will say this: if you're an OU fan and you're going to come sideways at me, you don't come sideways at me if your nuts weren't on the table before this game started.
Oh,
Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you ain't got the balls to say it before the game starts, don't put your nuts on the table when it's over. And that's where I stand, and I stand firm on it.
I mean, that's fair enough. Fair enough. But Dalt, I think I'm done with that game. You know,
Yeah, I am
it
too.
was
Let's go on to the
incredible.
next one.
It's the greatest rivalry in the sport. Like I said on the preview, I'll hear no other arguments. But we will move on. We're going to end up going long here. I figured we might go a little longer tonight because of that game in particular. But Dalt, real quick before we get into our preview, our super dogs actually both hit. You took Arizona plus 21. I took Wake Forest plus 21. Arizona obviously has that triple overtime thriller against USC. And then I think I looked and Wake Forest Clemson, that the final there was 17-12. That was the final in that game. So things are still not good in Clemson, South Carolina. But our least surprising
No,
outcomes, I was correct on. You missed on that one. You took Kansas State routing OSU. Did not happen in Stillwater. And then our bold predictions,
opposite.
we were both very much wrong on our bold predictions. You had Texas beating OU by 20 or 3 scores. I took Kentucky winning outright against Georgia. So with that, Dalt, we will move into our Week 7 preview. Our first game, we're heading to SEC country, Texas A&M, going on the road to Knoxville, Rocky Top, taking on the 19th ranked Tennessee Volunteers. This game's at 2:30 in the afternoon at Neyland. Tennessee, Dalt, comes in as a 3.5 point favorite. What's your early thoughts on this game?
I I don't I gosh, man, I don't like Tennessee this year. I don't. I think that they are extremely overrated. I think that they have kind of had a pretty fairly easy schedule up till now, and they're 4-1. Everybody's like, "Oh, they're 4-1. How can you say that?" Let's look at who they beat. They have beat Virginia, probably the worst team in Power 5 football. They beat Austin P. I I think that's in Austin. I don't know. Uh, they lose to Florida, who just gets their skulls beat in by Kentucky. They beat UTSA. They beat South Carolina. How good is South Carolina now? We don't know. According to Shane Beamer, that was Tennessee's Super Bowl. But I like Texas A&M in this plus 3.5. I think that they're the better team, and I think that what the big thing is defense travels. Tennessee loses Brew McCoy for the year with the leg injury, so I'm gonna take Texas A&M plus 3.5 here. I hope that I hope I win this, but I'm not gonna be mad if I don't. Let's just let's just go there.
Right. Uh, I, I'm I'm not super high on Tennessee like I kind of was before the season. Obviously, thought Joe Milton was going to be quite a bit better than what he has been, but I am going to go ahead and take Tennessee here minus 3.5. I just think, uh, man, I don't know. I think you're probably maybe right. A&M probably is the better team, but Tennessee at home, it's a really tough place to play. And I don't know. Tennessee's just kind of been quiet the last few weeks. Nobody's really talking about them. I could see just the typical A&M collapse ensuing after the loss to Bama, and I'm gonna take Tennessee minus 3.5 here. I like Tennessee in this game. So
Ask me who Tennessee plays next week.
oh, they play Bama next week.
They play Bama. It's a look ahead spot.
Yeah, I get that, but I'll give you A&M plus 3.5. Dalt. I'm going to take Tennessee minus 3.5. We will move over to Big 12 country now, and that is number 23 back in the top 25. Kansas Jayhawks heading to Stillwater, and this is another 2:30 kick, Dalt. And Kansas comes in as a road favorite at Stillwater, -3. I was trying to do a little research. I was trying to find out, Dalt, when the last time Kansas was a road favorite in a conference game. I couldn't find it, but I have to imagine this is. I mean, I know they've been a little better this year and last, but like, I can't even be. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing it. But anyway,
When
Kansas
did they win the Orange Bowl?
I think that was 07.
07?
Pretty sure.
So it
Yeah.
had to have been then.
Of course, Kansas was good in 2007.
Right. Everybody was good in 2007.
Right. So what do you like? What do you like here, Dalt?
I like both quarterbacks at Kansas. I actually really like them a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Jalen Daniels, if his back isn't tight, he's great. You bring in the Bean kid, and everybody's like, "Oh, he played terrible against Texas." Come on, it's a top 10 team in the country on the road.
Right.
What's he do? What's he do last week against UCF? Oh, I don't know, just pedestrian 8 for 12 for 91 yards and a touchdown, but they win 51-22. And I'm
Right.
pretty sure he had a load of rushing yards as well. No, he didn't. 6 for 10. That's shocking. But Devin Neal and Daniel Highshaw both go for over 100. They almost have 300-yard rushers. They rush for almost 400 yards, a yard off from 400 yards on UCF, who their fans were really loud to begin the year, and they're really quiet now.
Yeah, I think UCF has still yet to win a Big 12 game. Pretty sure that's correct.
Yeah, they are 0-3.
They got Oklahoma coming up.
But my biggest deal is what Oklahoma State team are we going to get? Are we going to get bludgeoning 33-7 South Alabama Oklahoma State? Or are we going to get an Oklahoma State team that looked pretty good? I mean, this is kind of the Oklahoma State team we thought we were going to get in the beginning of the year against Kansas State. I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I think that they're kind of coming together as a team better. I think once you take Bowman out of his, instead of doing this whole 3 quarterback thing, I think he finds a better rhythm, and he kind of played a decent game. He didn't have a touchdown or anything, but he didn't have a turnover. He threw for 235 yards. I think the biggest deal for. Okay, never mind. I'm taking Kansas. I can't do it. I can't trust them. It took 3 turnovers by Will Howard for them to win this game. I can't. I don't think Kansas is going to turn the football over.
So I will give you Kansas -3. I'm frustrated, Dalton. I had to scratch that off my paper. I'm gonna take OSU +3. I was gonna go with you there, and I'm gonna stick with OSU +3. You know, I think OSU does still play pretty good defense. That South Alabama game aside, which I know you can't just pretend that didn't happen. Like, obviously, I'm not doing that. But, you know, they did some really good things against what I think is a pretty good Kansas State team. I still think Will Howard is a fraud, but, you know, that's a conversation for another day. But, you know, I just think this game being in Stillwater, it's not a night game, so it's, you know, not that Stillwater's a super tough place to play. Half the fans will probably be gone by halftime to go drink, but whatever. But, man, the key for Oklahoma State, and this almost cost them in that Kansas State game, Kansas State almost came back. They have got to put the ball in the end zone, Dalt. I mean, they settled in the red zone for like 4 field goals against Kansas State. Like, that can't happen. So,
they kicked 1, 2, 3 field goals inside of
Right.
inside the red zone.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to cash in the red zone, like, or you're going to eventually get beat by a better team. And Kansas, right now, they might be a better team than Kansas State. But I'm going to take OSU +3. I like the Cowboys. I still haven't totally given up on Mike Gundy like some have, Dalt, but I'll give you Kansas -3, and we will move on. Top 25 matchup heading over to the ACC. We've got number 25 Miami coming off just a totally disheartening, disappointing loss. They're heading to Chapel Hill to take on the 12th ranked and undefeated North Carolina Tar Heels, Dalt. This game is at 6:30. North Carolina comes in as a 3.5-point favorite. Give me your thoughts, Dalt. What are we thinking here?
Is this going to be the first team to 50?
It very well might be.
Neither one of these defenses are great. This might be a quarterback's dream. North Carolina got back Tez Walker this week, which
Yes,
good for the NCAA. Like that
and
was
they
long
finally got
overdue.
something
You
right.
guys, yeah, you guys were starting to look like a bunch of assholes, just plain and simple. But I like UNC minus what was it, 3.5?
Yeah, 3.5.
Minus 3.5. I think that offense is going to be too much for Miami. I know that North Carolina doesn't play a lot of defense, but they looked really good against what was a pretty good Syracuse team.
Yeah.
Last week they only give up 7 points. So I'm going to take North Carolina. I like North Carolina and Drake May in this.
I'm with you. I like North Carolina here, -3.5. I think I'm not going to say that they handle Miami, but I think with it being at home, Drake May he's kind of starting to find himself this season. Got off to kind of a rocky start, but like you said, looked really good against a pretty good Syracuse team a week ago, and I think North Carolina's finding themselves. And North Carolina is a team kind of like Louisville, which I think North Carolina is maybe better than Louisville, but man, the rest of their schedule, like, it sets up pretty nicely for them. I mean, they got Duke at home, and then their other toughest game, they have to go to Clemson. So this is a team that, I think we were both pretty high on in the preseason, but they have a chance to maybe there's a world where they could go 12-0, but I don't know that that's going to happen. But that is a possibility.
They could go 11-1. They could beat Duke, lose to Clemson, or lose to Duke and beat Clemson, and still be in a firm second place with one loss, because Clemson has 2 losses now. If Duke runs the table, or if Louisville runs the table at this point, your odds of that, they go out the window. But I mean, you still have a really good shot to get to the ACC championship, and if you go 11-1 and beat Florida State in the ACC championship, there's a chance that you're going to get a nod at the college football playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt. So I will put us both down there for North Carolina -3.5, and we will move on to we're heading over to the Pac-12 for another top 25 matchup. The 18th ranked UCLA Bruins are heading up to Corvallis to take on your 15th ranked Oregon State Beavers. This is at 7:00, and Oregon State comes in, Dalt, as a 4-point favorite at home over UCLA. And this game may be a defensive showcase, Dalt, and what you might not have ever expected.
Yeah, it's going to be a great test for both of these offenses. Oregon State is going to want to run the football, and this is a UCLA team that is only giving up 64 yards on the ground. That's a and this we just talked about how good this UCLA defense has been. What it's going to come down to is which one of these quarterbacks can move the football productively down the field. I like DJU in this over Dante Moore. I know Dante Moore's a great quarterback, 5-star freshman, whatever, but let's not forget the last time that Dante Moore was on the road in the Pac-12. He looked bad against a pretty good Utah defense, but he did not look good against the Utah defense, and this is a Utah defense that Oregon State did what they wanted with 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I like Oregon. I like Oregon State. I know they didn't look great this last week on defense at Cal, giving up 40 points. That's kind of frightening for me. But I think they come back home. Might have been a little bit of a look ahead game against Cal. I like Oregon State in this.
Yeah. I'm gonna take an Oregon State as well. I just think they're the better, more complete team, and I think they're right now better at quarterback. I really like the Dante Moore kid. Think he's going to be really good, but he's just not there yet as a true freshman. So I like the Beavers at home. Corvallis, tough place to play up there.
Yes,
so
sir.
I will take Oregon State -4, and we are somewhat staying in the Pac-12, Dalt, but only one of these teams. Number 10, USC, heading over to Notre Dame. What is it? Is it South Bend? Is that right? Am I losing my mind?
Yes,
Yeah.
South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah. So they're heading over to Notre Dame, 21st ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish after a loss last week to Louisville. Fourth game in a row for Notre Dame at night. Kind of crazy. I just thought about that the other day. But Dalton, Notre Dame comes in as a 3-point home favorite in this game with USC coming to town.
This is their fourth ranked opponent in 4 weeks.
Yeah. Tough schedule.
I mean, they play Ohio State, Duke, Louisville, and then USC. And then in 2 weeks, they play Clemson. Man, is USC going to be able to stop the run? I mean, they're giving up 157 yards on the ground and 264 yards through the air. This offense is prolific for USC. We know they are. Caleb Williams led. I mean, he's having what most are calling just stacking another Heisman year on top of last year's Heisman campaign. I don't know, man. This is a tough one for me because I don't trust USC's defense, but right now, can I trust Notre Dame's defense?
Right.
They got a lot of points scored on them by a Louisville team that's not half as good as what this USC team is, but at the same time, Louisville's defense is probably better than USC's defense by 2 times.
Right.
I know Lincoln Riley is just preaching how good the defense is, how they're going to win this game.
Very,
and I think
very improved.
this is going to be a
improved.
shootout. I think this is going to be a shootout. Give me USC +3.
Okay. We're starting to be similar here, Dalt. I also like USC +3. I just think USC is going to win this game, and so like you look at that 3, like they could win it by a field goal and they cover. So, I mean, if they win, period, they cover. I guess for some reason I was thinking they were the favorite, but I just think they win this game outright. I think that they're going to score a lot of points on this Notre Dame team, and Notre Dame may score a lot. I think if I was Notre Dame, I would try to run the football the entire night and keep it out of their offense's hands. Will they do that? I don't know, but
they're going to get a heavy dose to Estime.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. I like USC +3 here. I think they win this game outright, Dalt. So with that, we will get into our game of the week, top 10 matchup, massive, massive implications in the Pac-12 race and the college football playoff race. We've got number 8 Oregon heading on the road to play their rival, number 7 Washington. A battle of 2 really, really good teams, 2 teams that look pretty darn good on both sides of the football. Just should be a really good game. It is a 2:30 game in the afternoon, but right now we've got Washington as a 3-point favorite, Dalt. So what do you like Washington here, or are you going to hop on the Oregon train?
I think I think I'm. Man, I'm gonna take Oregon. I I believe in Dan Lanning's defense there at Oregon. I know that this Washington offense is prolific with Michael Penix, who just absolutely slings the pigskin around. But I think Arizona kind of showed some things. Washington coming off the bye week is a little concerning for me, which I guess Oregon's coming off a bye week too. So they're both coming off bye week,
Yes.
even Phil.
Right.
So give me Dan Lanning in this defense, and Bo Nix against this Washington. I think they're going to try to control possession. I don't think they're going to try to get this into a shootout. They're going to really kind of take what Washington gives them and force Washington to come up and play tighter coverage so they can take their deep shots that they like so much. So give me Oregon +3.
That's fine. I'm taking Washington -3. I think I, I think Oregon's really good. I think Washington's really good. I just like Washington a little bit more. Um, and I don't really know that I can say why. I just think I do. I think these are two really good teams that are pretty similar. I think people maybe are a little higher on Oregon because of what they did to Colorado. Now, I don't necessarily think that that's something to beat your chest too much about if you're Oregon, but obviously was a great win. They dominated that football game, no doubt about that. But I like the Huskies here at home. If this game was at Oregon, because I think Oregon at Autzon's a very tough place to play. And I don't necessarily think Washington's that tough of a place to play, but I just think it's an advantage that Washington doesn't have to go to Oregon. So I think that's where I'm going to lean, and I am going to take Washington at -3, Dalt. And with that, those are our 6-game picks. Dalt, do you have a super dog this week?
I do have a super dog this week. My super dog is going to be the where I just had them. My super dog is the California Golden Bears plus
Mm.
13.5 at Utah.
I looked at that one and I thought I kind of liked that one myself. But I am actually, and I guess Superdog doesn't have to be a huge spread because that one's not too big. But I'm gonna take the Florida Gators, Dalt. They're 2-point dogs to South Carolina, who I just don't think is very good. And maybe I'm insane for doing this, but I think Florida might go in there and beat South Carolina. So I am going to take the Florida Gators as my dog this weekend. So real quick, Dalt, to recap our picks, you like A&M +3.5. I took Tennessee -3.5. You like Kansas to beat Oklahoma State, cover -3. I'm taking Oklahoma State to cover at +3. We both like North Carolina -3.5. We both like Oregon State -4. We both like USC +3. And then you like Oregon +3. I like Washington -3. And then I will lock in your super dog as the California Golden Bears at +13.5 against Utah. And I'm going to go ahead and take down the Florida Gators as my super dog. Dalt, do you have a least surprising? Do you have something that would be least surprising to you this week?
My least surprising game would be if hold on, I got it right here. If the my least surprising deal would be if where to go? If Caleb Williams has 4 more touchdowns against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty safe bet coming off of what was not his best performance of his career against Arizona. But oh man, Dalt, this is tough. I've honestly been pondering on this. I'm going to say, actually, actually, no, I'm going to save that for my least surprising or my bold prediction. My least surprising is Alabama, Dalton. I'm going there again. They're 19-point favorites against Arkansas at home. I think that Alabama is going to murder Arkansas at home this
I would be
weekend.
inclined to agree.
So with that,
Arkansas can't score.
No, I think that's going to be ugly. Do you have a bold prediction, Dalt?
My bold prediction is that Auburn goes into Death Valley and beats LSU.
I like it. I like it a lot. I am going to say my bold prediction is going to be, and I feel kind of bad because this is not necessarily, I'm not going to chalk it up as a win, but I think the Syracuse Orange give Florida State everything they want and more this weekend. I think Florida State I think they're kind of sleepwalking right now.
I looked at that as my super dog.
I think Florida State's just kind of sleepwalking. They got through that tough early schedule, and I like Florida State I like Syracuse to give the Seminoles everything that they want. But Dalt, with that, neither of our teams play this weekend, so we're not gonna touch on Oklahoma and Texas. We can't be hurt this week, Dalt.
They can't hurt me. They can't hurt me.
So,
but I do have to eat this shit for an extra week.
Right?
So
yeah, you got to let it marinate a little bit longer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I feel bad for Houston.
Yeah, right. But Dalt, with that, I'm going to say it again. We may be back for a recap, may not be. That's been very difficult for us to get on the same page on that. But with that, I don't have anything else. We'll be back when we're back for another episode. And if you don't got anything else, Dalt, I guess we're out.
Don't forget to cover the flats.